We got 6 animals you'd be glad are extinct. I like this guy a lot. I'll watch his clips here and there when I'm not streaming and whatnot. So, like, I want to see what this is. I haven't seen this one yet.
Heard the phrase, it's a good thing that's extinct? Well, these 6 terrifying animals from our planet's past prove that expression correct. We're talking about nightmare fuel that actually existed. Giant snakes that hunted crocodiles, bears the size of SUVs, and a giant bird that could run down a greyhound. And these were actually real. Just wait until you meet the 6 beasts that would have seen you as nothing more than a quick snack. These are 6 animals you'll be glad are extinct, starting with the ancient nightmare that makes today's largest snakes look like garden worms. If you've ever thought a 20-foot anaconda was terrifying, get ready to meet its older, nastier, prehistoric cousin, the titanoboa. And yeah, the snake wasn't just massive, it was stupidly massive. We're talking up to 47 feet long and possibly over 2,500 pounds. That's longer than a school bus and heavier than your average SUV. If it was wrapped around you, it's game over. No questions asked, just one deep breath and you're a tube of toothpaste. Titanoboa lived in what is now northeastern Colombia in a lush, swampy jungle that formed right after the extinction of the dinosaurs around 60 million years ago. That's important because Titanoboa didn't have to deal with big, meat-eating dinosaurs. The top predators were gone, and this snake slid right into that role like it was born for it. Fossils were first pulled out of a Colombian coal mine in the early 2000s. At first, researchers thought they were crocodilian bones. And fair enough, because the vertebrae were so massive, nobody expected them to belong to a snake. But it turned out they discovered the biggest snake in the fossil record. And what's wild is they found fossils from 30 different individuals. So this wasn't a one-off mutant. Titanoboa was normal for its time. And that's terrifying.
That being normal is crazy.
Mysterious creatures in Brazil,
That's
we
huge.
investigated reports of a 50-foot-long anaconda. Locals swore up and down they'd seen it. We didn't find one that big, but we did find a 20-footer, which was literally amazing, one of the coolest catches of my life. Titanoboa wasn't hunting deer or pigs. That swampy Paleocene jungle was filled with giant turtles, crocodilians, and fish the size of surfboards, and Titanoboa was built to eat them. Later discoveries showed its skull was perfectly adapted for gripping and swallowing fish, which of course makes sense. This was likely a semi-aquatic ambush predator, like a boa crossed with a wrecking ball. Now imagine if Titanoboa was still around today. It would thrive in warm tropical river systems like
It would
Amazon,
eat everything.
Congo,
There wouldn't be no alligators. There
Florida.
wouldn't be none of that
It would
stuff.
be an apex predator in freshwater ecosystems, probably knocking off caiman, capybara, tapirs, you name it. And if it came into contact with humans, you better believe we'd be on the menu. A 40-foot plus snake capable of swallowing you whole is not something you want slithering near your boat ramp. Could we survive living alongside this behemoth? I mean, technically, yeah, we've all seen the movie Anaconda. The truth is, we wouldn't even see it coming. A snake that big can move silently through the water like a log until it's not. And let's be honest, if Titanoboa existed today, someone on YouTube would definitely try to ride it for clout and get absolutely annihilated. So if you're asking yourself, what would it be like for humanity to live alongside a 47-foot snake? It would be insane. But nothing compares to the next animal that dominated the Australian mainland for years. If you've ever seen a Komodo dragon and thought, wow, that's a big lizard, congratulations, you're correct. Now imagine one twice the size with more toxic venomous saliva and the attitude of a hungry lawnmower. Meet Megalania, the biggest terrestrial lizard to ever stalk the earth, and easily one of Australia's most horrifying export ideas. This wasn't a gecko, it was a cold-blooded tank that could grow over 20 feet long and weigh upwards of 1,000 pounds. And it didn't just look scary, it was scary. Part of the monitor lizard family, Megalania was like a Komodo dragon if it had gone Super Saiyan. It lived in Australia around 50,000 years ago, which means, yep, early humans and Megalania were roommates. Early Aboriginal people in Australia would have been hunting and living alongside this otherwise hell beast of a lizard.
Odin Valhalla Rising, now available on mobile
that's
PC,
a gigantic
exclusively
lizard.
with Google Play Games.
And its hunting style, brutal. Megalania likely ambushed large prey, Things like giant kangaroos, wombats the size of a smart car, maybe even early humans, using stealth, power, and venom-laced bites that would cause blood pressure crashes, internal bleeding, and of course, death. If it caught you, game over. Just like a Komodo dragon, this lizard didn't chase you for long. It bit, waited for the venom to work, then tracked you like a heat-seeking nightmare. And if it lived today, Australia would basically be uninhabitable. I mean, it already has spiders the size of dinner plates and jellyfish that could kill you by looking in your direction. But add a 1,000-pound venom lizard to the mix, forget it.
1,000
Tourism would drop to
pounds.
zero, hikers would need flares, snake boots, and emotional support kangaroos just to go outside. So could we survive? Maybe, with drones, dart guns, and an entire army on speed dial, but if one slipped into your backyard during a barbecue, forget about it. It's game over for the entire grill out. Megalania is long extinct, probably wiped out due to climate shifts and human hunting, but every time a Komodo dragon lunges at a goat on YouTube, just remember, that's the mini-boss version. The real monster is thankfully gone. If you've ever thought most birds were harmless, cute little things, meet the avian nightmare that would have turned your local dog park into a massacre, the terror bird. And yeah, it earned that name. This thing stood over 10 feet tall, weighing close to 300 pounds, and sprinted across prehistoric South America like a feathered missile with a murder beak. No wings, no flight, just pure high-speed ground-based aggression. It was the apex predator of its time. If you saw it coming, your only real option was to become part of the fossil record. The terror bird was part of a family of giant flightless birds called Forrest Galante. But let's be honest, terror bird sounds way cooler.
Another
way more
flightless
accurate.
bird.
They had long legs built for speed, razor-sharp talons, and a massive hooked beak designed to hammer prey like a jackhammer wrapped in nightmare fuel. They weren't subtle hunters. These birds ran their food down and then bludgeoned it into submission. Its bite wasn't about force, it was about precision. That beak could strike downward like a hatchet, smashing bones and piercing skulls. Some paleontologists believe it killed by grabbing prey and shaking it violently, like a roided out emu with a vendetta. And in addition to being violent, it probably sounded terrifying. Think deep booming calls echoing across the pampas like a prehistoric war horn. You're not just being hunted, you're being announced. If the terror bird was alive today, forget hiking trails and nature reserves. Joggers would be packing tasers, kids wouldn't be playing outside, and bird watching, that's a full contact sport now. Picture this, you're walking through an open grassland, camera in hand, vibing with nature, and suddenly, out of the brush, comes a 10-foot tall carnivorous ostrich doing 40 miles per hour, screaming like a broken saxophone, and eyeing you like a rotisserie chicken. Would we survive? Technically, yeah, because that's what we as humans do, but emotionally, spiritually, absolutely not. The terror bird is long gone, likely pushed out by climate change, human hunting, and competition from big cats and dogs. But make no mistake, in its prime, this bird was top of the food chain. And every time you see a pigeon strut across the sidewalk like it owns the place, remember, it used to. Now, if the terror bird ruled the pampas grass, the next killer ruled North America. Smilodon, the saber-toothed tiger. And despite the name, it wasn't actually a tiger. It's more like a prehistoric cousin of modern clouded leopards, but with a weaponized face. Smilodon lived in the Americas, mostly in what is now the US and parts of South America. It showed up around 2.5 million years ago and stuck around until around 10,000 years or so ago, right at the end of the last ice age, which means early humans actually shared territory with this thing. It was one of the top predators of its time, and you didn't want to meet it on foot. Stocky, muscular, and equipped with a pair of serrated upper canines that could grow over 7 inches long. But while it was around, it was probably one of the top predators in any ecosystem it lived in. Those iconic fangs weren't just stabbing tools, they were literally engineered for lethal efficiency. The incisors were curved at an arch to help clamp prey in place, and the contact surface between the canine and the gum was wider than modern cats. That gave Smilodon a sensory advantage. It could feel exactly when the tooth had sunk deep enough before pulling back. It even had large nerve openings in the skull that would have allowed super sensitive whiskers to help it navigate blind spots when biting down. And here's the wild part.
Discover your new Chrysler, right now at Tyler Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram. Come lease a 2025 Chrysler.
It probably wasn't delicate with those teeth. One study in 2022 showed tooth wear in Smilodon that suggests it could eat bone just like modern lions. That means, despite having 7-inch canines hanging out of its mouth, it could strip a carcass down to the bone with serious efficiency. If Smilodon was still alive today, it would be a nightmare for prey species. We're talking about a carnivore that likely hunted in packs, brought down mammoths and bison, and went straight for the throat or spine. It would be a serious threat to livestock, to wildlife, and yeah, most likely to people, especially in areas where urban sprawl overlaps with wilderness. Could we survive alongside something like Smilodon? Well, we did, and now we live in cities. But out in the wild, we'd be the ones watching our backs all the time, as I imagine early humans did. The saber-toothed tiger is gone, but every time we find those perfectly curved canines in a tar pit or a dig site, it's a reminder that nature doesn't need monsters because it makes them. Rodents. Not exactly terrifying, but let me introduce you to Phobiromus pattersoni, affectionately and hilarious nicknamed by scientists as Ratzilla. This thing wasn't your backyard mouse.
Crazy.
It was an absolute unit. Picture a rodent the size of a water buck. We're talking 10 feet long with another 5 feet of tail. That's 15 feet of herbivorous nightmare, waddling around the ancient Orinoco River Delta in what is now Venezuela about 8 million years ago. The first nearly complete skeleton was found in 2000 in the Uramaco Formation. The species was named Phobiromus pattersoni in honor of paleontologist Brian Patterson. And when scientists first saw it, they basically said, yep, that's the biggest rodent we've ever seen. At the time, some early estimates puts it weighing in at over 1,600 pounds, but that turned out to be a bit
That was
generous.
huge.
Later studies dialed that back and landed somewhere between 330 and 550 pounds, which is still absolutely massive for a rodent. Now get this, even though it was a herbivore, it had foot-long incisors. You heard that right, teeth a full foot long. And while those were mostly for chomping through plants and bark, I don't know about you, but I would never want to be anywhere near those chompers if it got grumpy. From a distance, it probably looked a bit like a supersized capybara with a serious weightlifting habit. But up close, I imagine it was more like sharing a forest with a shaggy-legged wrecking ball. Its molars and premolars were high-crowned and perfect for grinding down vegetation. And clearly, it needed a lot of it. This was a rodent that grazed like a cow, but looked like it could chase you down if it wanted to. Now, if Phobiromus was still alive today, I don't think we'd be thrilled. Sure, it wouldn't be hunting people, but imagine hiking through a tropical wetland and stumbling into a herd of quarter-ton rodents. They'd be flattening crops, snapping trees, blocking roads. You need a license just to camp in their territory. Would we survive? Absolutely, but it definitely would change the whole vibe of those cute hamster videos that you see online. A name like Short-Faced Bear sounds like something you'd want to cuddle. Maybe a cartoon, maybe a plushie. But Arctodus simus was anything but cute. This was a walking nightmare, a meat-guzzling monster from the Ice Age that could have turned any mammal, including us, into lunch. It lived all over North America and went extinct about 11,000 years ago. And get this, it was 50% larger than the biggest polar bears in recorded history. At full height, it could stand over 11 feet tall on its hind legs. That's tall enough to stare a giraffe in the eyes.
Okay, that's crazy.
It weighed as much as a small car and needed to eat around 35 pounds of meat every single day just to survive. And it wasn't shy. The short-faced bear had long legs built for efficient travel. It wasn't fast, but it could walk you down. Long strides, huge range, always on the move. It probably covered hundreds of square miles sniffing out a carcass, bullying other predators off their kills,
45
and when
miles.
desperate, hunting things down itself. Now, if that sounds like something straight out of Jurassic Park, it basically was, just fuzzier. Imagine the scene, you're on a hike, nature is vibing, sun shining, and suddenly a bear the size of a grizzly wearing stilts comes around the corner looking like it just bench pressed a bison. You'd throw your granola and scream like a velociraptor got loose in the gift shop. That's if you saw it coming. Despite all the size and power, the short-faced bear wasn't just a killer. Like modern bears, it was an opportunist. It could dig up roots, forage for berries, maybe even snack on carcasses left behind by animals like saber-toothed cats. But when times got tough, and they often did, it turned to meat. A lot of it. Studies show it probably ate everything from caribou and deer to young mammoths. It had the strength to drag bones into caves and gnaw them like a dog with a chew toy. The closest living relative of the short-faced bear is the spectacled bear that I was lucky enough to work with and go and dart and relocate in Peru. And getting to see this animal's power and prowess up close was absolutely incredible. Locals were struggling to survive in the area that the bear was occupying. Now,
Really?
would we survive if short-faced bears were still around? Technically, yes, because we did, but let's be honest, hiking would never be the same. You'd be packing
That was
snacks
crazy,
and
yo.
mountains of bear mace and a taser and a very specific life insurance policy that says cause of death, Bearzilla. So yeah, the short-faced bear might sound like a stuffed animal, but trust me, it was one of the scariest predators to ever roam this continent. If you liked hearing about these 6 terrifying extinct animals, check out some of the animals that we recently discovered frozen in ice in this video right here.
That was crazy. If them things was real today, that'd be nuts. It'd be insane. And the only one we would really have to worry about is what, the giant rat, the snakes. Alright, we'd worry about all 6 of them. But that was pretty cool to see.